Hello and welcome to our training today. Glad to be with you and share with you some quick thoughts. Before we get into the training today, just like to cover some housekeeping issues. Just kind of talk a little bit for a second about your webinar software. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you should notice a little control panel that controls the webinar software that we're using. Just want to introduce you to some of the buttons there. The top button should be a little orange button with an arrow on it. And by clicking that button, it will open and close your control panel. And during the main portion of the training today, we're going to keep all the microphones muted so we won't be interrupted with noises and sounds from out there. If you do have a question during the main portion of the presentation, just open that window by clicking on the orange button, and you can enter in a message there, and it will pop up on my screen, and then we can address your question. If you want to answer that later, you can wait till the end of the session. There's another button on that bar. It's a little hand, and you can click on that during the question and answer session at the end. And if you raise your hand, I can unmute your microphone, and you can ask your question at that time, or you can go ahead and type it in at that time as well. Another button that may be good for you to do, there's a kind of a green button with a little square in it. That puts your presentation in full screen mode. And again, if you click it twice, it just goes back to regular mode. So if you want to view it in full screen mode, just click that green button. So, okay. First, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Bruce Eckman, and I'm the founder of EasyNet Tools Incorporated. Over the years, we've worked with thousands of different companies online with their websites, and we've learned a number of different things, both from successes and from failures. And so our objective with this Launch to Success series is to share with you some of the things that we've learned the hard way so you don't have to. Each different webinar or training session has some different thoughts and some different things that we've learned. So anyway, with that, we'll go ahead and get into the main portion of our training. Today's training is titled Landing Pages and Mini Sites. And this is going to be a little bit shorter seminar, a mini training, as it were, talking about mini sites and landing pages. There's a lot of things that you can go into with these. We're going to kind of cover the basics and the main elements, so you can get started in it pretty easy. But this is a very effective use of the Internet, and there are a lot of people out there that are using this very effectively in their web strategy. The first thing that we need to do is we need to kind of define what a landing page is, and there's a number of different terms for these pages, and they can be a little bit fuzzy, and which is what, is where, is why, is how, and so we're just going to kind of take kind of a generic overview of the whole thing, kind of lump all these pages in together, and just kind of explain this way. But I've heard them called squeeze pages, which I don't think is too complementary. I like the term landing pages best. There are other terms for them as well, but we're going to go basically off of a definition of what these kind of pages are and how they're used on the Internet. Okay. Years ago, I used to be involved with the Boy Scouts of America program, and I worked with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and one of the things that I noticed when we were out there, we'd be doing nature projects and things like that. And one of the things that would invariably happen every time we would pass out the little magnifying glasses, you can just imagine what would happen. Instead of using the magnifying glasses to magnify things that they were looking at, almost every time instantly we would be going to using the magnifying glass to focus the sun's energy on objects, everything from grasshoppers to ants to grass and lighting fires, The boys seem to just be naturally drawn to that. And so I want you to remember that, because that's sort of what our definition of landing pages and mini sites is about. It's all about focus. These are very, very tightly focused web pages or websites, and that's really my definition of it. Okay, so if you think about that magnifying glass, when you work with it and trying to focus the sun's rays, what you have to do is you have to move it back and forth until you get that focus just right. And when you get that focus just right, good things or bad things happen, depending on your perspective, I guess. But if you get the focus just right, it works really well for what you're doing. And these landing pages are the same principle. A landing page or a squeeze page or whatever you call it, the objective is to get the focus just right so things happen, okay? So one of the things that all of these pages have in common is that they have one major objective, and one major objective only typically, okay? And the whole focus of that page or that mini site is to achieve that objective. And so if you think about that can be incredibly effective, because you're focusing all that energy on one thing. And so if you're developing a landing page, you need to be very, very clear before you start on what that objective is. What is it that you want to do with that page? How are you going to focus that down? What is your goal? What is your objective? If you want to burn up ants, like these scouts I worked with used to do all the time, you see them out there on top of the ant pile with the magnifying glass, or light a fire, you need to define your objective, okay? And then everything that you do is going to be built around that single, simple objective, okay? Now, one of the things that every one of these pages has in common is a call to action. You want the person viewing that website or viewing that web page to do something. So that's going to be your objective. What is the action that you want the viewer to take? Okay. Now, if you typically think of a squeeze page, which is a term I don't particularly like too well, but the objective of a squeeze page is typically to squeeze some information out of someone, like their email address. You want them to sign up to something. Okay. So the call to action is to get their email address, okay? Another common call to action is to get someone to buy something. Maybe it's a package of videotapes or whatever it is. The objective, the focus of that web page is to get somebody to buy, okay? But that's one of the things that you got to look at on your page. It's very, very critical, because it's the common element of every squeeze page or every landing page is that call to action. So you can almost figure out before you start building the page, what is your call to action, okay? And then everything you build on that page is going to be focused tightly around getting people to take that action, whatever it is. And on that page, you're going to have a very, very prominent call to action. And we'll show you some examples of that here in just a moment, okay? So let's jump in and just show you exactly what a landing page would look like. And there are a number of different ways that you can build landing pages, and different things that you can try, and there are different people that tried different things. And one of the things that I've found over the years about landing pages is that there are lots of differing opinions. Some people like long pages, some people like short pages, some people like videos, some people like all text. So there are a lot of different opinions out there on what works the best. And when you see all those differing things out there, I guess one of the conclusions that I come to is, well, like my grandpa used to say, there are lots of different ways to skin a skunk. There's not just one. And so there are a lot of different ways that things can work. And so what you're going to need to do is figure out what's going to work for you. So let's pop open just a couple of examples here, okay? And we'll come back to these as we go through and just kind of point out different things. This is a landing page that I built. If you look up here, let me get my little highlighter, and so I can mark some things here for you. Okay, this is a landing page. Didn't get it. I guess I did. Okay. So if we look at this landing page, this is a little bit longer landing page. And you can see, I mean, it doesn't take you too long to figure out what the call to action is, okay? What is it that I'm trying to get? I'm trying to get people to sign up for a 30-day trial. And so I've got my call to action prominently right there. It's on the very first page. It's right up front. It's, you know, I've got a big red button. You know, you can get a little bit obnoxious with it if you want to and make it flash and all kinds of different things. And, you know, at what point it gets people not excited anymore and you lose, but you need to make your call to action very prominent, okay? Now, this is a longer page. You can see that I've got graphics on this page. Like I said, some people want to go all text. I like to put some graphics into it. You can try different things. But what you're going to see is typically they'll have a big title up to the top. Then you'll make your call to action very prominent. Then you'll provide whatever information you need to have to get people to take that action.